Harriet Prior of the Anfield Wrap is with us. Good morning to you, Harriet. I suspect that was a good night from your perspective last night.
Morning. Yeah, it was great fun. It was actually my first derby since I've moved up to Liverpool, with sort of the fan and all the fans and all the buzz around it. So yeah, it was a very good night in the city. Sadly, I wasn't in the ground, but I think I had the next best thing, just being here and soaking up all the atmosphere. So yeah, very good night.
Well, what is it actually like then? Because anytime I've been to Liverpool, it's never been for a derby, but it's been on match day, and the city is obviously on fire when there's matches on. I can only begin to imagine what it's like on a derby day.
Yeah, I think it was a strange one actually, because I felt a lot of sense of anticipation in the city, mainly because I guess you don't know who's supporting who and where everyone's coming from, so you're a bit reluctant to sort of get excited about it and talk to people, because you're not sure what team they're supporting and what side they're on. But mostly it was all good spirited and all good fun. But definitely an atmosphere in town for the last couple of days. Actually, I felt building up to it, and looked like a great atmosphere in the ground as well. And yeah, I think it's always a fun time to be on the city on match day. But this derby has a different feel about it, and I think you could definitely sense that yesterday, and maybe today as well. The celebrations will continue for half of us.
Did the Everton fans who left early stumble around to your section of the city at all afterwards?
No, they didn't actually. I mean, when we went in and we sat down, we were thinking, oh, is it going to be... We didn't know how much red and how much blue were going to be in the bar, but luckily in the bit we were in, it was mostly red, so we all enjoyed it together.
Where does last night rank in the satisfaction levels for Liverpool fans in what has been a pretty successful recent history against Everton?
Yeah, I think I tend to think actually in the past when we've gone to Goodison, even when we've had really good seasons or we've had really good spells, we've actually struggled there. I think we've drawn the last 4 games we've actually been to Goodison, and we've never hit that second gear. So I think that's why there was a lot of sense of nervousness and anticipation last night about whether, even with the good form there and in there having a spell of poor form, and we're doing great at the moment, whether we could make that translate into a good result last night, and we did, and emphatically so. And a lot of people were saying, oh, we'd love that last minute winner like Mane and that Origi goal in the derby and stuff, but sometimes it's just quite nice to get into the last 10 minutes and just sit back and enjoy it. So it was definitely a great result, and definitely ranks very high with all the other last minute winners and everything, and it was great to do an emphatic style, and they just showed that they have that other gear. I think since we've come back from the international break, we've just continued to crack on, keep on working hard, and I think last night you really saw the result of that.
Is there a case... Sorry,
go on.
I was just going to ask that other gear that you mentioned there. Is there a case to be made that gear is actually a level above Manchester City's and Chelsea's top gear? Like, maybe not consistently over the season, given the depth that those two clubs have in the squad, it may not lead to them winning the title, but that top gear, if everybody's going full throttle, do Liverpool have an extra edge?
I think that's really interesting, because it's become quite clear, hasn't it, over the last 2 match days, that it has become a bit of a three-way race between the 3 of those teams that you mentioned, and all 3 of them have different strengths and different weaknesses, and we've seen this season already that they are capable of dropping points in different ways against different styles of teams. The squad depth is an interesting one. Obviously, Chelsea is scoring a lot of goals from defence. There's questions about whether that is sustainable or not, and whether they can keep that up. I think Liverpool have shown that at times our game management isn't the best. Manchester City are always consistent, but they have dropped points, and so I don't know whether we are going to be the ones that can reach that other gear. But I think what's going to be key for the team that goes on and ultimately wins the league is finding a level of consistency over a period of 10, 15 games, where they are just consistently grinding out the wins, however they are coming, just keeping to score goals. And I'm hopeful that Liverpool are the team that can do that. I mean, our goal scoring ability at the moment is absolutely ridiculous. We've scored 43 goals in the league this season, and that's more than any other side across Europe's top 5 divisions. So there's no shortage of that. It's just whether we can keep the defence tight, keep people fit, keep players fit. And if so, then yeah, I totally believe that we can maintain this level and go on to do it all.
That point about the 3 teams, they're actually totally different teams as well. Like I definitely think that there's a case to be made that City's highest level is as high as Liverpool's highest level, and that'll get borne out one way or the other over the course of the rest of the season. The thing that I'm interested in is what happened in the international break, because the performances before that did include the defeat to West Ham and what must have felt like a defeat in the 2-2 draw against Brighton, where the team are cruising and it looks like it's going to be a routine 3, maybe 4-0 victory, and it didn't happen. But they look like a totally different side now. So what are the working theories at the moment about what has happened and what's changed?
You know, it's really interesting because after the international break, when we had that game to West Ham, everyone was really negative about the fact that they were going to be going away playing for their international teams. I personally saw it a little bit differently. I thought it gave them a chance to take their mind off of club football when they got into a bit of a rut and they were finding it hard to get through games. I mean, it's ridiculous that we're talking this way after just 2 games, but it did feel like that because that's the standard you expect as a Liverpool fan. I think maybe just going away, getting that bit of headspace, Klopp allowing them to just have a bit of time away from club football has just massively helped. Klopp hates the international breaks more than anyone in the world, he really does. But I do think in this occasion it has sort of helped because there's just been a complete reset and Klopp has been able to come in and say to the players, right, we're going to start again now and we're going to crack on and we're going to show that those 2 games are not representative of how we play our football and how this season is going to go. And I think they've really shown that. But ultimately, I think with Liverpool and the mentality that they have and that the manager has, they just try and work every single game as an individual basis and play the opponent, not the occasion. And Klopp was really wanted to make that clear last night that he didn't like all the context around it and the contextualisation around the derby and the vibe that it has. He just wants to go and play their football. And on their day, if they're in the game, they are good enough. I think injuries, you have to say, also have played a part. And we had a few midfield problems before the international break. The breaks allowed some of those players to come back, and we're able to play a stronger team and have a bit of more squad depth and options off the bench. So that's also been a really positive impact. But definitely a bit of a mentality shift and the combination with players coming back has helped a lot.
Those comments that you mentioned from Klopp in the build-up to the game were very much mirrored in his comments after the game. Like he said, it was the best performance we've showed at Goodison since I've been at Liverpool. We were never as calm or convinced as we were tonight, and that's why we won. He says we were an emotional football team, but first of all we need the right mindset. Emotion is good, but not the all-important thing. Is that in itself a shift, Harriet, from tapping into the unbelievable emotion at the football club?
Yeah, definitely. We all know that Liverpool and the fan base and the club and the mentality around it is a very emotional thing. It's a very emotional connection. They get their connection off of the fans, and that's why they struggled so much last season without them. So that there's no denying that they feed off of that and they need that. However, there's a huge case to be made for not letting that become the overriding factor, especially when you're playing in these huge games, when you're playing against United, when you're playing in the derby. You cannot let the emotions of the occasion get to you, because otherwise you'll never go and play your best football. And I think that's at times what we've seen in the past. We've let things get to us, and the intensity of the game and the fact that they always come out and try and come out very strong against us. And we know what happened last season with the Van Dijk injury that sort of set the season on a bit of a downward spiral. So Klopp last night will have been so proud that they just went and played their football as he knows they can and didn't let the rest of it get to him. And that shift in mentality is really, really important on big match days. And this season, they just seem to be nailing it on those days and winning 4-0 against United and winning 4-1 last night.
Not bad. Yeah.
No, it's not bad. That's the thing. And that's why I think when we think about like a 1 loss to West Ham, I think we're pretty lucky, really, aren't we?
Do you think he got in the heads of Everton as well with the pre-match comments about the aggressive football and because the game didn't take off from Everton's perspective until they were 2-0 down, by which stage it was too late?
Yeah, definitely. I like to think that Klopp was just completely focused on what their game plan was and what they had to do, and maybe, you know, Rafa saw it as a bit of an opportunity to get a bit of a foothold back because his results haven't been good there, and he'll want to show his commitment to the club, especially in a game like last night, but also show improvement. So he thought a derby was the perfect opportunity to do it. It obviously didn't turn out that way. I mean, Liverpool was straight out in the first 20 minutes and it was so convincing. And when it went to 2-1 and we let them back in the game, obviously there was a nervous 10 minutes, but straight back out in the second half, and we always looked like we were on top. And definitely that always helps, isn't it? When you come out, you quieten the crowd, you make sure the atmosphere isn't in their favour. And we saw that last night straight away. I mean, we could have scored very early on with the chances that we had. And then we just cracked on, and it was great to see.
Are Liverpool fans singing for Rafa Benitez at the end because they love him, or because they love him being the Everton boss?
Oh, to be honest, when it happened and when he went to Everton, I don't think there was much love lost. And there was in some parts of the fan base, and everyone obviously is entitled to have different opinions on it. For me, I saw it more as a business decision and a business thing for him. And you know, he just wanted to live in Liverpool ultimately, and he got a job that allowed him to do so and paid him quite a lot of money. I don't think there's I don't want to really get involved in that because it's just not something that I would maybe get involved in, even if I was in the ground. But, you know, we can't want Rafa to do well when he's at Everton. That's what I will say. We're never going to want that. So last night when things like that happen, people like to say, well, we did warn you.
So Rafa, you want to see him get the sack? You want to see Everton in the relegation zone?
You want to see him stay there for as long as possible. That's what I'm hearing. It's like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ole's at the wheel.
I think there were a few Rafas at the wheel chance last night, but I wasn't there, so I can't confirm or deny. But
I did predict that on yesterday's show that the Liverpool fans would be singing Rafa's at the wheel at the end of that. What's the story with the Salah contract? Because every week that they wait, the money gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and if they don't do it, the crushing loss to the fan base is going to be even more difficult to explain.
It's a weird one. It's a weird situation. It was one that was really ramping up over the summer. There was a lot of talks about it going over the line, especially in the early parts of the season. And now it's sort of gone quiet a little bit. And he continues to show us every single week why he deserves it, show the club every single week why he deserves it. Last night, absolutely phenomenal again. And the positions he finds himself in, the anticipation to know when other teams are going to maybe make a mistake and for him to be there to capitalise on it. I want him to stay at the club for as long as possible. I think he's still got his peak for many years to come, and he's still got other levels to go to. I genuinely believe that, which is what kind of scary. The club have to sort it out. They know that. We all know that. We know something's got to get done. I think it will get done. I believe it will happen. I think that the terms are just a lot harder because of the nature of how good he is. So it will take longer to agree a contract that everyone's happy with. But I think ultimately the club know that the owners, I should say, know that if they let Salah go, it would be a huge mistake and it would cause a huge upset between the fan base. So I don't think they want to get into a situation where that happens and there's any resentment towards it. So I'm hoping they get it done sooner rather than later, but only time will tell, and I think we've still got to wait a little bit longer for that to happen.
When Thiago signed, we did a couple of pieces around that time that did massive numbers because the level of expectation was so great. It was like, oh, here is a piece that's going to transform our team. And then injuries and illness and loss of form, and now all of a sudden it's like, we told you so, to use your words. His form at the moment is actually transforming a little bit about what they can do in terms of being able to keep possession and not just kill you with, I mean, obviously last night was a bit different because there was several goals in the break and threw balls into space, but they didn't need to do that. They can now play a different way with Thiago in the team.
Yeah, when Thiago first came in, there was a huge amount of excitement around it, and I totally agree. For the first season he was there, he didn't show what we thought he was capable of. A lot of that had to do with the players around him, and you can only be really as good as the team around you, especially when you're a player like Thiago, who needs that creative flair and that ability to push forward. Now that he's got that strong defence behind him, he's got Fabinho in behind him, is that holding midfield position. He is just being allowed to go and do what he does best, which is be creative, assist, make the ball before the goal, score goals in the last few games as well. And we're finally seeing, I think, the best of Thiago. He has been a bit plagued by injuries and illnesses, and obviously you need to allow new players a grace period to settle into the team, settle into the new league. He's had a season to do that now. He's finally getting consistent starts, and he's finally in that midfield three that I think Klopp would have wanted to play for a long time alongside Fabinho and Henderson. And you can just see that it's all gelling. And Liverpool's midfield is a really, really hard place to play, simply because of the way we play football and the way we play our high defensive line. And so settling into that does take a little bit longer, but now you're finally just seeing how good he is. And oh my God, how good again was he last night? I could talk about Thiago all day, I think. I'll stop myself now.
What about Jota? Because his rich vein of form has perfectly coincided with Firmino's injury. And it's like, I don't know if Bobby Firmino's getting back in this team.
Yeah, there's always a lot of conversations around the two players and whether they're competing for a position. I don't see it quite like that, because I think you need more than three strikers to go on a 38-game season and do well, and obviously Champions League and football and everything as well. But obviously we are absolutely delighted that he came in literally the same time as Thiago, and there wasn't as much anticipation and excitement around what he could do, and he has proven that there absolutely should have been, because he's been unreal for us. He's growing in confidence game on game, week after week, and you can just tell he's absolutely loving his football. His strength and dynamism last night to get that fourth goal, I mean, it was literally an impossible angle and he made it look so easy, and I'm loving watching him play. I'm loving that he gets random little headers that you just don't expect from him. It seems to just keep scoring without having to do anything, reinvent the wheel. He's just playing his own style of game, and he's a great option to have when we don't have Firmino, and you can't complain about that. When Firmino's fit, obviously I think it provides a bit more competition between the two. They're going to be constantly pushing each other to do better, so it's no bad thing to be competing for a position and to have another player who can do as well as you can when you're out. So it's only going to push them both on. But yeah, Jota's been very, very impressive for us.
All right, Harriet, we'll let you go. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Harriet Prior of the Anfield Wrap there.